A human gave his last chocolate to a lost alien girl, unaware she was galactic royalty. HFY sci-fi tale. The signal came from deep space. It was short, cold, and undecipherable, just 3 seconds of distorted sound. But to the scientists at Earth's deep-range listening station, Delta 9, it was clear. This wasn't natural. Dr. Elaine Vora replayed the signal for the 3rd time. "Is it a distress call?" her assistant asked. She shook her head slowly. "No. It's a countdown. Half a galaxy away." In the war chamber of the Zarkalian Empire, a tall alien figure stood before a star map of Earth. Her name was Lady Alara Kvari, noble-born, war-bred, and bored of peace. She wore armor made from the bones of extinct beasts and bore the violet eyes of her ruthless bloodline. Earth was just another target on the map. "Primitive species," she said flatly. "They won't even know what hit them." Her second-in-command, a reptilian officer, hissed in agreement. "We strike at midnight, Earth Standard Time." Kvari gave a lazy wave. "Then begin the purification." Back on Earth, it was 11:57 p.m. in New York City. Most people were asleep. One man stood alone on a rooftop watching the stars. Commander Jace Grayson of Earth Defense Command. He'd seen classified reports. He knew something was coming. But what? Then, he saw it. A falling star. No. Too fast. Too controlled. Too many. Dozens of fire trails streaked across the sky. No warning. No broadcast. No mercy. The first blast hit Tokyo, then Berlin, then Islamabad. Buildings crumbled. Satellites fried. The war had started, and no one knew who was attacking. Global comms crashed. People ran into the streets, sirens wailed, planes fell, power grids died. In just 7 minutes, Earth lost half its satellites. Someone, something, had turned off the lights. Commander Grayson raced into his command center, barking orders. "Scramble every interceptor, find out what we're dealing with." But even his best teams couldn't respond in time. Zarkalian stealth bombers tore through Earth's skies like shadows. No shields, no negotiation, no demands, just destruction. High above, on her command ship, Lady Kvari smiled. "How long before they surrender?" she asked. Her officer replied, "They haven't even responded." Kvari laughed softly. "Perhaps they're still trying to wake up. Poor things." She didn't understand humans. Not yet. But she would. In the silence of an abandoned city, a teenage girl knelt beside her fallen father. He was still alive, but barely. She looked up at the sky, at the black ships hovering like vultures. Her voice shook with fury. "We didn't ask for this." Far away, a Pakistani engineer trapped in a collapsed bunker pulled a photo of his wife from his coat. A whisper escaped his lips. "For you, I survive." Across the world, people who had never picked up a weapon before picked one up. And that's when everything changed. Humans stopped running and started fighting. In space, Zarkalian scanners picked up something new. Small fighters launched from the moon, an officer reported, and Mars, and underground bunkers on Earth. Lady Kvari narrowed her eyes. "So, the primitives have teeth." Her smile vanished. "They want to play war?" she said coldly. "Then let's play." Commander Grayson's voice came through the scrambled Earth broadcast. His face was bloodied. His tone calm. "To all surviving stations, this is not a retreat. This is not the end. We will fight in the sky, in the dirt, in the dark. We are humans, and we don't kneel." And just like that, humanity stopped being prey. They thought we'd break it began with a funeral, not a quiet one. Not peaceful. There were no prayers, no flowers, just fire, screams, and rage. In a ruined field just outside of what used to be Lahore, a young boy lit the match. His sister had been killed during the first Zarkalian strike. Now, her small body, wrapped in a burnt school uniform, was placed atop wood and steel scraps from a destroyed hospital. He lit the fire. His hands didn't shake. His eyes didn't cry. Instead, he whispered, "You thought we'd break. But we're still standing." Across the world, similar flames rose into the night sky. Mass graves, mass pain, but no surrender. Far above Earth, Commander Jace Grayson watched the destruction from orbit. His left eye was swollen shut, his uniform torn, his voice hoarse. "Casualties?" he asked. "Hundreds of millions," his officer whispered. "Cities gone. Oceans boiling. Communications down in 70% of sectors." Grayson nodded slowly, and still, they fight. The alien invaders, Zarkalians, were confused. They'd fought many species before. When the Zarkalians arrived, others surrendered. They begged, they cried. But humans bit back. In the war chamber aboard the Zarkalian flagship, Lady Alara Kvari stared at a burning map of Earth. Her long silver hair was tied back in a war braid. Her violet eyes glowed with irritation. "What do they want?" she snapped. "Why haven't they submitted?" A young alien tactician swallowed hard. "We believe humans do not respond to fear the way we expected," she frowned. "What do they respond to?" "Loss," he said. And then, vengeance. Back on Earth, survivors began organizing, not military. Not politicians, farmers, mechanics, students. They formed militias with homemade weapons. Old museums were raided for ancient rifles. Crushed factories were rebuilt to produce drones, bikes, and bombs. In Sandspire, a desert city that had once been neutral, a man named Asher Malik led a rebel raid on a Zarkalian supply drop. He wasn't a soldier. He used to be a poet. Now, he carried a plasma rifle in one hand and his daughter's bracelet in the other. When asked why he fought, he simply said, "Because they made it personal." Commander Grayson began contacting Earth's remaining colonies, on the Moon. "Titan and Mars, we need unity," he said. "Not flags, not borders, survival." For the first time in history, the entire human race became one nation, one species, one cause operation. Iron Pulse was launched, back on the Zarkalian ship. Lady Kvari's patience was wearing thin. "Wipe out their capital cities," she ordered. "Already done." "My lady," the commander replied. "Then what's left?" The tactician looked at her. "What's left is their spirit, and it refuses to die." She stood in silence. In her mind, she replayed the image of a human pilot ramming his broken ship into a Zarkalian dreadnought, smiling as he died. It was irrational, it was stupid, and it was terrifying. A new fear crept into the back of her mind. What if this species wasn't like the others? What if breaking them only made them stronger? In the mountain caves of South America, Commander Grayson gathered rebel leaders from across the globe, virtually and physically. On a cracked digital board, he wrote just one phrase, "Make them afraid." A whisper went around the room. He pointed to each face on screen. "You have 1 week. Build what you can. Hack what you must. Steal whatever tech they left behind." "I don't care how." His eyes narrowed. "We're not here to survive. We're here to win, in space." The Zarkalian sensors began picking up strange signals. Improvised. Attacks, hijacked satellites, explosions, in areas they thought were secured. A new voice came through the comms. It wasn't military, it was a teenage girl from Nairobi, broadcasting through a stolen channel. She looked into the camera and said, "We don't need big ships. We don't need energy weapons. We just need one reason. And we have millions." The transmission ended with Earth's global resistance symbol, a cracked helmet. Still standing. In orbit, Lady Kvari turned to her generals. "They have declared total war. Shall we increase force?" One asked. She stared at the Earth, now burning but not broken. "No," she said. "Now, we study them. The things they didn't see." Coming, the first Zarkalian soldier went missing without a sound. No scream, no alert, just silence. He was part of a patrol squad stationed in the ruins of old Beijing, assigned to monitor the area for rebel activity. His last transmission? Just one word, whispers. Then, nothing. By the next sunrise, 6 more were gone. Their weapons were left behind. Armor shattered like glass. No blood, no trace. No clue. Zarkalian command was confused. "This isn't possible," said one commander. "They're savages, not ghosts." But ghosts were easier to fight. Far beneath the surface of the Earth, in the ancient subway tunnels of Paris, a group of human engineers, hackers, and survivors had created something new, something the Zarkalians had never faced before. Not ships, not missiles, ideas on operation. Echo Flame had begun. It wasn't about fighting head-on. It was about hitting the invaders where they weren't. Looking Zarkalian war AI systems were advanced, but they didn't understand human unpredictability. They didn't understand graffiti messages that doubled as encrypted signals. They didn't understand songs, coded in protest chants, carrying battle orders. They didn't understand the chaos of art, or the rage of the broken. Above Earth, Lady Alara Kvari stared at the screen showing a map of Earth with blinking red marks, signals of sabotage, resistance, and growing interference. "What is happening?" she snapped. Her advisor replied, "They are not attacking our ships anymore. They're attacking our systems, power grids, data banks, even our food replicators." Another voice added, "Their methods make no sense. There's no pattern." Kvari stood up, her violet eyes burning. "That is the pattern. They fight like wildfires. They burn in every direction. Meanwhile, on the ground, Commander Grayson walked through an underground safe house hidden inside an abandoned London museum. On the wall, painted in spray paint, were the words, "They thought we were weak. Let's prove them right before we strike." Grayson smiled. "You want unpredictability?" he said. "Good. Let's give them insanity." A few days later, in New Delhi, Zarkalian forces chased a young girl through the narrow, broken streets of the old city. She had a backpack. They assumed it was a bomb. They were wrong. Inside the bag was a Bluetooth speaker playing an old Bollywood song. On loop. It wasn't the song that killed them. It was the hacked drone swarm that had been synced to that melody. As the chorus played, the sky turned black with drones, attacking from every angle. A single phrase blinked across the Zarkalian command screen. "You're not fighting soldiers. You're fighting students with internet." The Zarkalian elite didn't know how to respond. Their strength was in discipline. But humans made chaos a weapon. Lady Kvari returned to her private quarters and activated her long-range council comms. "I require analysis," she said. "Why are these creatures not breaking?" "An older gray-skinned alien appeared. You misunderstand humanity, my lady," he said. "They are not fighting to win. They are fighting because you gave them nothing left to lose." Kvari went silent. She remembered the boy in the field. The woman with a broken leg still throwing bricks. The teenager on camera yelling, "We are not the Empire. We are the fire under your throne." In secret chambers, Zarkalian generals debated using planetary wipes. "Burn entire zones," one suggested. "Poison their air. Break their spirit." But it was already too late for that, because by now, humans weren't hiding. They were hunting. In the deep forest of the Pacific Northwest, a single Zarkalian war cruiser went dark. Cameras offline, shields down. When a recovery team arrived, they found the ship completely empty. Graffiti on the walls read, "Welcome to Earth. Now leave." Back in orbit, Kvari watched old footage of Earth history, wars, revolutions, riots, rebellions. She whispered to herself, "They were born in fire." Then she turned to her second-in-command and said, "We made a mistake. We didn't attack Earth. We woke it up. The turning point, they didn't expect a traitor. Not on their side, not this soon, not someone born in the high circles of Zarkalian nobility. But there she stood, inside a stolen human bunker, removing her royal insignia with shaking hands. Lady Alara Kvari, the same ruthless general who once laughed at Earth's weakness, was now defecting. "Are you sure she's not a spy?" Commander Grayson asked, pointing his pistol straight at her. She didn't flinch. "If I was here to lie," she said calmly, "you'd already be dead." Hours earlier, Lady Kvari stood inside the Zarkalian High Council chamber, staring at a holomap of Earth. But this time, something had changed. The red areas, zones under Zarkalian control, were shrinking, and the blue ones, human-controlled zones, were growing faster than possible. Explain. This, she demanded. A nervous advisor spoke. They've learned, adapted, faster than predicted. They now understand our ship layouts, our language, our command signals. How? She whispered. They're listening, my lady, studying everything. And they've started using Zarkalian tech against us. Back in the human bunker, Grayson kept the gun steady. You slaughtered our cities, he said. Why the hell should I trust you now? Kvari met his eyes. Because I just disobeyed a direct order to melt the Amazon rainforest with orbital fire. Silence. Grayson's hand lowered. Slightly far underground in an old Tokyo metro station turned resistance lab, young engineers worked on stolen alien cores. They called it Project Mirror. They weren't trying to match Zarkalian tech. They were reverse engineering and improving it. And they were doing it faster than any alien species ever had. We underestimated the human factor, a Zarkalian general said in orbit. What factor? The madness, he replied. The unpredictable nature. They don't follow logic. They follow feeling. In one city, a child drew the face of a fallen soldier on a wall. That wall became a symbol. That symbol became a flag. And that flag became the banner under which millions rose. No training. No fear, just memory. And fire. Kvari sat across from Grayson in a dim human war room. I was taught humans were simple, she said. Soft, weak, Grayson raised an eyebrow. And, she exhaled, you're terrifying. Through a private channel, Kvari contacted her secret ally, her younger brother, hidden within the Zarkalian scientific division. They won't win through power, she told him. They'll win because we taught them everything. And now they use it better, he replied with a single word. Then it's already over, the turning point. Wasn't one moment, it was 1,000 small ones. A rebel in Mexico hacked a Zarkalian comm tower with a solar-powered phone. Grandmother in Morocco reprogrammed a drone using kitchen tools. A blind boy in the Philippines used sound mapping to detect enemy footsteps underground. Meanwhile, Project Mirror succeeded. They turned a Zarkalian plasma core into a human weapon, smaller, faster, undefendable. Lady Kvari stood with Grayson, staring at the first working prototype. This is not Zarkalian, she whispered. No, Grayson said. It's human vengeance, upgraded. When the weapon was tested, it didn't just destroy a drone. It unmade it, melting the ship at the molecular level. Zarkalian sensors picked it up instantly. The humans have crossed the line, a war commander hissed. No, said an older advisor quietly. The humans have changed the line. Back on Earth, for the first time in the entire war. The sky turned red for the Zarkalians. Their own tech was now in the hands of those they once called insects. And those insects were now armed, angry, and unified. As humans struck back harder, louder, and smarter, Lady Kvari watched from the ground. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. But for the first time, she felt something new. Hope. Hope for Earth, and maybe even redemption for herself. The turning point. They didn't expect a traitor. Not on their side, not this soon, not someone born in the high circles of Zarkalian nobility. But there she stood, inside a stolen human bunker, removing her royal insignia with shaking hands. Lady Alara Kvari, the same ruthless general who once laughed at Earth's weakness, was now defecting. Are you sure she's not a spy? Commander Grayson asked, pointing his pistol straight at her. She didn't flinch. If I was here to lie, she said calmly, you'd already be dead. Hours earlier, Lady Kvari stood inside the Zarkalian High Council chamber, staring at a hollow map of Earth. But this time, something had changed. The red areas, zones under Zarkalian control, were shrinking, and the blue ones, human-controlled zones, were growing faster than possible. Explain. This, she demanded. A nervous advisor spoke. They've learned, adapted, faster than predicted. They now understand our ship layouts, our language, our command signals. How? She whispered. They're listening, my lady, studying everything. And they've started using Zarkalian tech against us. Back in the human bunker, Grayson kept the gun steady. "You slaughtered our cities," he said. "Why the hell should I trust you now?" Kvari met his eyes. "Because I just disobeyed a direct order to melt the Amazon rainforest with orbital fire." Silence. Grayson's hand lowered. Slightly far underground in an old Tokyo metro station turned resistance lab, young engineers worked on stolen alien cores. They called it Project Mirror. They weren't trying to match Zarkalian tech. They were reverse engineering and improving it. And they were doing it faster than any alien species ever had. "We underestimated the human factor," a Zarkalian general said in orbit. "What factor?" "The madness," he replied. "The unpredictable nature. They don't follow logic. They follow feeling." In one city, a child drew the face of a fallen soldier on a wall. That wall became a symbol. That symbol became a flag. And that flag became the banner under which millions rose. No training. No fear, just memory. And fire. Kvari sat across from Grayson in a dim human war room. "I was taught humans were simple," she said. "Soft. Weak." Grayson raised an eyebrow. "And," she exhaled, "you're terrifying." Through a private channel, Kvari contacted her secret ally, her younger brother, hidden within the Zarkalian scientific division. "They won't win through power," she told him. "They'll win because we taught them everything. And now they use it better." He replied with a single word. "Then it's already over, the turning point." Wasn't one moment, it was 1,000 small ones. A rebel in Mexico hacked a Zarkalian comm tower with a solar-powered phone. Grandmother in Morocco reprogrammed a drone using kitchen tools. A blind boy in the Philippines used sound mapping to detect enemy footsteps underground. Meanwhile, Project Mirror succeeded. They turned a Zarkalian plasma core into a human weapon, smaller, faster, undefendable. Lady Kvari stood with Grayson, staring at the first working prototype. "This is not Zarkalian," she whispered. "No," Grayson said. "It's human vengeance, upgraded." When the weapon was tested, it didn't just destroy a drone, it unmade it, melting the ship at the molecular level. Zarkalian sensors picked it up instantly. "The humans have crossed the line," a war commander hissed. "No," said an older advisor quietly. "The humans have changed the line. Back on Earth, for the first time in the entire war." The sky turned red for the Zarkalians. Their own tech was now in the hands of those they once called insects. And those insects were now armed, angry, and unified. As humans struck back harder, louder, and smarter, Lady Kvari watched from the ground. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. But for the first time, she felt something new. Hope. Hope for Earth, and maybe even redemption for herself. "The fire they lit in us, they bombed the wrong garden. It was just a small place, hidden between 2 destroyed apartment buildings in old Karachi. Grown by a deaf old man and his granddaughter, flowers bloomed there. Even when the air was thick with smoke. Even when drones flew overhead. Even when hope was hard to find, that garden was where they dropped the next plasma strike." The next morning, the old man stood in the ashes. He touched the blackened soil and calmly said, "Grow louder." By the end of that week, every resistance base on Earth planted a flower, inside helmets, on rifles. Even in the cracks of bombed roads, it became the symbol of a new wave, not revenge, rage with purpose. In an underground command center in Cape Town, Commander Jace Grayson stared at a message written in red ink. "We are not here to destroy them. We are here to show them what they can never become." Across the room, Lady Alara Kvari, now a defector, stood silently. Watching Earth's rebel forces reorganize, she had seen many wars, but she had never seen an enemy plant flowers after being burned. "This is not war," she whispered. "It's art." In orbit, the Zarkalian Empire grew desperate. Their weapons still worked, but fear no longer did. "Why don't they break?" a high commander shouted. A scientist answered, trembling, "Because they don't fight for orders. They fight for each other." In a jungle valley in the Philippines, a human scout rescued a lost Zarkalian child. The boy had crash-landed during a failed recon mission. Injured, alone. crying in a language Earth didn't know. The scout didn't shoot. He carried the boy on his back for 3 days through hostile territory. When asked why, he only said, "Because we don't become monsters, even when we fight them." The image went viral in human rebel networks. Mercy had become their weapon, and it was cutting deeper than any gun ever could. Lady. Kvari walked with Grayson through the ruins of a fallen city. "There's something different in your people," she said. "Pain is common, but you turn pain into something else." "What?" Grayson asked. She stopped and touched a burned wall where a child had drawn a smiley face in chalk. "Fire." Meanwhile, Project Mira reached its next phase. Using stolen Zarkalian neural tech, Earth's engineers created a device called Echo Mind. It allowed human thoughts to disrupt Zarkalian comms, using emotional frequency waves. Emotion was now a weapon. When activated, Echo Mind made Zarkalian soldiers hear human voices, a child's laugh, a mother's last goodbye, a soldier's whispered prayer, and it broke them. One squad dropped their weapons and ran. Another began screaming. One officer took off his helmet and cried. Even Lady Kvari trembled when she heard the sound test. "It's not violent," she said. "It's beautiful, terrifyingly beautiful." But the humans weren't finished. Project Mira had one last gift. Project Ember, a weapon not of fire, but memory. On the anniversary of Earth's first city loss, they launched it, a low-orbit payload shaped like a falling star. It didn't explode. It didn't kill. It opened in the sky and rained holographic projections over Zarkalian troops. Thousands of faces, men, women, children, soldiers, poets, workers, speaking in every language. "We remember. You thought we were dust. But dust becomes storm." Zarkalian morale crashed. Lady Kvari stood in awe beside Grayson as they watched footage from the field. They made grief into strategy, she whispered. Grayson turned to her. "You lit the fire in us. Now watch it burn everything you built." And yet, despite all the progress, humans paid a price. Losses continued. Heroes fell, cities wept, but they kept going. At a quiet moment, Grayson and Kvari stood together at a rebel memorial wall. He lit a candle. She placed a flower. She looked at him and asked, "Why do you still believe you can win?" He smiled gently, "Because they made one mistake. They thought killing us would stop us." He looked up at the stars, "But they only taught us how to live louder." Echoes in the stars space remembers. At least, that's what the Nexen elders believed. They said the stars could hold emotion, that pain, hope, and love could leave echoes in light itself. The Zarkalians laughed at that idea until it started happening. It began with voices in the dark. Zarkalian scout ships near. Saturn's rings began reporting strange audio signals, whispers in languages they didn't recognize. First dismissed as static, then they started recognizing the voices, their own dead soldiers, crying, screaming, begging for mercy in alien tongues. But humans didn't send those signals. The stars did. On Earth, Project Ember had activated a second phase without warning. The engineers never designed it to do this. The neural waves weren't just disrupting Zarkalian comms. They were somehow recording emotions, storing echoes from every human who died. And now the stars themselves were replaying them. Grief, rage, forgiveness. Even Lady Alara Kvari heard it, standing in orbit, staring at the pulsing blue waves spreading from Earth's upper atmosphere. Her second-in-command stood frozen beside her. "We didn't just awaken the humans," she whispered. "We awakened the universe through them." Meanwhile, Commander Grayson sat inside, Earth's command dome with a hand on his chest. Not from pain, from the strange calm flowing through him. "I can hear them too," he said softly. "The ones we lost." Kvari stood beside him, pale and shaken. "They're not ghosts, they're messages, echoes in the stars. That's what they called them now. Signals not in data, but in feeling." Grayson turned to Kvari. "You wanted to erase us. Instead, you made us permanent." At that same moment, Across the galaxy, the Zarkalian high throne cracked, literally. A quake tore through their palace moon, disrupting their quantum council chambers. "Enemy strike?" asked a general. "No," replied a scientist. "The damage came from within, because fear is a virus. And humans had infected their systems Zarkalian. Youth began questioning the war. Soldiers hesitated. Defections increased. One rebel group, once loyal to the Empire, painted their ships with the human flower symbol, a message. "We will not fight those who remember the dead." Back on Earth, Lady Kvari sat in a quiet garden, the same one that had grown again in Karachi. She placed her hand on the soil. "I once thought emotions were weakness," she told Grayson. "But your people use them like blades." He smiled slightly. "We bleed, but we don't break." Then came the final message, broadcast from deep space, not from Earth, not from humans, but from a Zarkalian research station near a dying star. They had found something ancient, buried in gravitational waves, a single sentence written in ancient code, pulsing across time and space. Those who try to silence pain will be remembered by it. The war had changed. This was no longer about Earth. This was about what kind of galaxy would rise next. One ruled by fear, or one that remembered. Grayson turned to Kvari in the garden. "There's a final move coming. You know it too, don't you?" Kvari nodded. "Yes, and I think it won't be made by generals." She looked up at the stars, but by the ghosts we made. "This is why you won't survive. It wasn't a weapon that ended the war. It wasn't a bomb, not a virus, not even a battle. It was a moment, quiet, unexpected, unstoppable. A single Zarkalian child walked into the middle of a human outpost. No guards. No translator. He was trembling, unarmed, holding a torn piece of human cloth in his hand. The humans aimed their weapons. He said just one word, in perfect Earth English, "Please." The humans didn't shoot. They opened the gates. They gave him food, water, a warm blanket, and he wept. Not because he was afraid, but because no Zarkalian in the Empire had ever shown him mercy before. That one act, that single mercy, did what all Earth's weapons couldn't. It split the Zarkalian Empire from the inside. Deserters flooded across battle lines. Zarkalian soldiers laid down arms in silence. Commanders refused orders, and one final message spread like wildfire across both species. "This is why you won't survive. Not because we're stronger, but because we are free." Lady Alara Kvari stood on the deck of her ship, orbiting Earth for what might be the last time. Below her, the lights of the planet flickered, not with destruction, but with life. She turned to Grayson, who now stood beside her, not as an enemy, but as something more. He handed her a small item, a wrapped bar of Earth chocolate. "It started with this," he said. "And now we end it." She smiled faintly. "You didn't just win. You rewrote the rules. Across the galaxy, species who had once hidden in fear began stepping forward, inspired, awakened. They had watched humans fall and rise, bleeding, laughing, fighting, forgiving, and they realized something chilling. If a species like that refuses to die, you should pray they never get angry. The Zarkalian High Council dissolved itself. The Empire collapsed, not in war, but in shame. Their final broadcast simply read, "We lost to a species that should have broken." But they didn't. They bloomed. Earth's skies cleared. Its oceans breathed again. The scars remained. The graves remained. But so did the people. Stronger, quieter, unbroken. Grayson and Kvari stood before the new Galactic assembly, the first ever built not by one species, but by all. She looked out at the gathered delegates. "I was raised to conquer, but Earth taught me something far more dangerous." She paused, eyes scanning the room. "They taught me what it means to remember." Grayson stepped forward. This wasn't a victory of weapons. It was a victory of memory, of meaning, of mercy. He raised the small wrapper of the original chocolate bar. One small gift to a stranger changed everything. Back on Earth, in that same garden in Karachi, the old man who planted flowers was gone, but his Granddaughter now taught children to do the same. Every flower had a name, every name had a story, and every story survived somewhere. In the outer reaches of space, a Zarkalian survivor whispered to the stars, "We thought we could break them." But they became something we could never understand. They became hope. Final scene, Grayson. And Kavari walked through Earth's rebuilt cities. Children played old. Languages were sung again. Street walls were painted, with art of humans and aliens side by side. Not enemies, not conquerors, but family. A small boy ran up and handed Kavari a drawing, a flower, a star, and a chocolate bar. She bent down, smiling. "Thank you," the boy said. "That's for sharing." Kavari looked up at Grayson, her voice a whisper. "They win because they know something we forgot." He nodded. How to care, even after everything. Last shot. The stars overhead echoed once more, but this time they didn't whisper fear. They whispered a single word, in every language across the galaxy: human.